reminder what absolute value does. Absolute value takes whatever is inside of it and returns a positive answer. Okay? So what that's going to mean if you have a variable inside of it is that you will actually have two possible answers, at least two possible answers for that variable. So in this situation here, typically we think of -4 inside of absolute value, right? Because we remember that the absolute value changes the sign positive. So the absolute value of -4 would be +4, but also the absolute value of +4 is also 4, right? So that means that x is allowed to have two different answers. X is -4 or x is +4. And in order to have a complete solution, you have to include both pieces, right? X is allowed to be either of those things. Same idea over here with the z. What is z allowed to be? Z can be -14 or +14. Okay? So it's allowed to be -14 or +14. Now, you are going to have to be on the lookout for situations like this. When you get into a rhythm of problem solving and you get a situation like this, you're going to have to remember that y can't actually be anything, right? There's no solution to this. No solution because, let's say y was -2. The absolute value of -2 is +2, not this. Okay, no, there's nothing that I can put in here to make the answer come out negative. All right, so if you end up with an absolute value on one side of the equal sign and a negative number on the other side of the equal sign, it's impossible to balance them, and you'll say there's no solution. All right, now these are just the most basic of examples. It's not really what you're doing. This is just me reminding you how absolute value works. You're going to look at problems more like this and a little bit more complicated than this. If I have an absolute value equal to 4, just like we had on the last slide, it's going to mean that what's inside of the absolute value, n minus 8, can either equal 4, right? If n minus 8 equals 4, absolute value is 4. Or n minus 8 can equal -4. Right? Because if n minus 8 is -4, absolute value of -4 is 4. Okay? So the first move that you're going to make after you have an absolute value equal to something on the other side is you're going to split the problem into two pieces. See if you can split that. See if you can split that blue one over there into two pieces. All right, now if you did that properly, the two pieces for this blue one would be -2z equals 23, or -2z equals -23. Okay? Split it into two pieces. Now, after you split it into two pieces, you already know, by the time you're getting to lesson 50, you already know how to do the rest of this. You just use opposite operations, solve for the variable in each of your two pieces. So we would be adding 8 to both sides here to find out that n equals 12, or adding 8 to both sides here to find out that n equals 4. Right? You are going to have to be careful with your positive and negative rules, because this is where you get tempted to say things like -12 here because it feels symmetric. All right, but checking this out, 4 minus 8 is -4. The value of -4 is 4. All right, 12 minus 8 is 4. Absolute value of 4 is 4. The two possible things that n can be are 12 or 4. See if you can do that guy over there. All right, nice and easy. Divide by -2. Divide by -2. Z equals -11.5, or Z equals +11.5. So this one, they actually do come out symmetrical across 0. All right, so that is solving absolute values. Here's 2 more for you to try before I introduce the next piece. Hit pause, try these, check your answers against mine. Subtracting 7. All right, for that one, subtract 7 from both sides, divide by 5, both sides. This one over here, we're going to multiply by 7, subtract 15, both sides, right? Multiply by 7, subtract 15. Multiply by 7, subtract 15. All right, W can equal positive 27 or W can equal negative 57. And again, if you want to double check your answers, 27 plus 15 is 42. 42 divided by 7 is 6. The absolute value of 6 is 6. Negative 57 plus 15 is negative 42. Negative 42 divided by 7 is negative 6. The absolute value of negative 6 is positive 6. All right, so full out. Most complicated problems you got to do, you're going to follow these steps. Number 1, use opposite operations to isolate the absolute value. We have not seen that yet. Number 2, check for negativity. We looked at that briefly. 3 and 4 we've been doing. All right, split into a positive and a negative solution, and then use opposite operations to isolate the variable for each of those. So, show you how these first 2 steps look. All right, notice how this is different. The absolute value is not by itself yet. So, when I say use opposite operations to isolate the absolute value, I mean you're going to treat this like it is a variable. All right, x plus 8 is 19. You need to get rid of the 8, subtract 8 from both sides. And then we'll have this thing, absolute value of 2j minus 11 equals 11. Okay, from there on, it's like what you've already seen. Split it. 2j's minus 11 can equal 11, or 2j's minus 11 can equal negative 11. All right, use your opposite operations. 2j's equals 22, or 2j's equals 0. And finally, j equals 11. Whole lot of 11s in this problem. Or j equals 0. All right, double checking. 2 times 0 is 0. Minus 11 is negative 11. Absolute value, positive 11 plus 8, 19. Cool. Starting with 11. 2 times 11 is 22. 22 minus 11 is 11. Absolute value, still 11. Plus 8, 19. All right. This guy over here, same kind of deal. treat this absolute value like it's a variable. So we have a couple steps we need to do before we have that thing isolated. We need to add 14 to both sides. We need to multiply both sides by 2, and we need to divide both sides by -4. So we've got -4 absolute value over 2 equals -3. All right, 11 minus 14 is -3. Multiply both sides by 2. We've got -4 equals -4 times this absolute value thing equals -6. Divide both sides by -4. We got the absolute value equals positive 1.5. All right, -6 divided by -4, positive 1.5. Okay, I'm going to write my absolute value back in here, g plus 3. And from there, we're doing what we did before, split it into 2 pieces. So we got g plus 3 equals 1.5, or g plus 3 equals -1.5. Subtract 3 from both sides. G is allowed to be -1.5, or it can be -4.5. Okay? So again, when we're steps, use opposite operations to isolate the absolute value. Split it. Use opposite operations to isolate the variables. See if you can do that with these. Hit pause. See if you can do it. Check yourself against me. Last one. This is what I mean when I say you have to check for negativity. All right, when we subtract -15, or when we subtract 15 from both sides, we end up with a -8 over here. The absolute value is isolated. I don't need to go any farther because I know absolute value makes things positive. No matter what I put in for you, I'm not going to be able to make this come out as -8. So there is no solution to this one.